guys, Nary here from Drake Wing Gaming. So if you know me on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Echo, Carl's Path. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it, guys. Please sit back and enjoy for the next 18 minutes while I entertain you, and let's jump right in. Alarm chain, you're up, and let's go. Okay. I can feel the sun on my face, the brightness turning the insides of my eyelids a dazzling red. I don't want to open them, though. No, I just want to sleep. I almost do fall asleep, but a distant chorus of shouts and screams jolts me back awake. Now, I do try to open my eyes, but I can't. It's like they're glued shut. I reach up to paw at them, but my arms won't lift. I must be dreaming, stuck in a paralysis. So I lay there, listening to the shouting and screaming, imagining an angry mob. After what seems like hours, the voices fade and the red turns deeper, darker, blood-like, as if the sun is setting. Oh, and it does. Okay. That's when I can finally drift away, back to sleep. A soft, choking moan brings me back to the surface. I'm still hot and sweaty, but the blazing sun isn't shining in my face anymore. I wiggle my fingers and shift my arms a bit, feeling them glide over fabric. At least I'm not paralyzed anymore. Another moan, followed by a coughing sound, forces me to open my eyes, realizing it's not part of a dream. I stare up at the ceiling, a textured beige ceiling. I'm back in the room where I'd slept. How long ago? A day? A few days? It doesn't matter because everything comes back to me at once. I feel like a lead weight has just dropped onto my chest, knocking the wind out of me. Fuck, is this not over? Now I'm starting to become convinced that this is never going to end. We're stuck in a loop, just like in my dreams. Another moan, slightly weaker, makes me sit up and look around the room. I'm alone as far as I can tell. Where are the others? Am I actually alone? I can't stop a soft whimper coming from my mouth at the thought of being separated from the others. I was barely keeping it together with Carl, but without him? A loud cough through the wall behind me makes me jump again. I quickly slide off the bed and immediately cringe as my weight comes to rest on my swollen ankle. I sag against the bed for a moment, squinting my eyes shut as I wonder why my ankle is only getting stiffer. Maybe the fall Carl had taken made it worse. The thought that those moans could be coming from Carl spurs me to straighten up and carefully hop towards the door. I have to stifle a short yelp with every bounce, and by the time I reach the doorframe, I have to lean against it to catch my breath. My hands shake as I rub my eyes, the pain making me wonder if I'll ever be able to walk without a limp again. Another groan from the room next to me forces me to move again. Excuse me, I'm in the hallway now. I'm able to make out the sounds a bit better and realize it has a feminine quality to it. Jenna? My voice comes out in a crackly squeak, and I grunt to clear my throat. Jenna! I try again and wait, but I get no response in return. I force myself to step into the hallway, clinging to the wall for support. When I look down the hall to the door next to mine, I find something very familiar. A damaged wooden door, the middle bulging and splintered out, as if something had hit it from the other side. Memories of a bad smell, a dark, concrete room, and a noose. I hold tighter to the doorframe, feeling my knees tremble, both from the pain and the fear. I look behind me, hoping to see Carl, maybe even Raven. A shuffling sound followed by another cough and gurgle draws my eyes back to the door. If it's Jenna, I have to act now. I steady myself against the wall as I hop slowly to the door, eyes watering with the pain now. Reaching out with a shaking hand, I start to slowly push at the door. I'm hoping that I might be able to crack it open just a little bit and not draw the attention of whatever is inside. The door only shifts a little, though, and seems to catch on the ground underneath it. It lets out a rough, scratching sound that makes my fur raise up. Gritting my teeth, I forgo the stealthy approach and give it a hard shove. This time it opens halfway, and I'm able to see into the room. It's just like last time, there's no light coming from within the room itself. Instead, I have to rely on the dim yellow light coming from the hallway. It casts a widening band of light into the concrete room as the door opens. The smell hits me like a wave, and I immediately gag, doubling over and pressing a hand to my nose before pulling up the neck of my shirt over my nose. Sure, I smell like BO from the 2 days of running in fear, but it's better than the sweet smell of rotting meat that's enveloping me. Still shaking, I peer into the room while I lean against the door, but I'm only able to see the cracked concrete floor and walls. The grunting, choking sounds reach a peak now, and it's coming from beyond the band of light. It's an inky blackness that isn't all that different from what Carl and I had run through. Hello? No response. It sounds like the grunting has stopped, too. Shit, I have to do something now. I think about just kicking the door open and jumping back, but then I remember there's really nothing I can do with my feet right now. Taking a deep breath, I set both hands against the door. I steel myself for whatever I'm about to see, then shove the door as hard as I can. The door swings in suddenly, scraping horribly against the floor the entire way. I yelp at the suddenness of it all, the tension all exploding out of me at once as I jump back in fear. The band of light widens, sweeping over the entirety of the concrete room before the door finally lodges against the wall with a snapping sound. I almost lose my balance, arms swinging around cartoonishly as I try to hop on one foot. At the same time, I'm fearfully eyeing the opening, terrified of what I'm about to see. And what I do see is definitely terrifying. It's Jenna, in the middle of the room. She's hanging from the noose, her muzzle tilted up so I'm able to clearly see the rope digging into the fur around her neck, painfully tight. Her toes are barely touching the floor, but it doesn't even look like she's trying to keep herself up. It looks like she's unconscious. Jenna! There's no response, and I find myself leaping in her direction. I forget about my ankle until all of my weight comes down on it twice in my mad dash, and I literally scream as it happens. There isn't any time to worry about it, though, as I grab at Jenna, unsure of what to do. First, I try to wrap my arms around her and lift her up, screaming again as I set my weight down on my foot. She doesn't respond to any of this, and just hangs there limp in my arms, which terrifies me even more. I reach up and pluck uselessly at the hangman's knot that I immediately know isn't going to budge no matter how much I pull. Carl! Carl, help! I feel myself starting to panic. Desperately, I look around, trying to find something, anything I might be able to use to cut the rope. Jenna! I call up at her. I can't see her eyes from this angle, but I can't feel any movement in her. I try to press my ear against her chest, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it in the right spot. I try to quiet my breathing and actually listen, but I still can't hear anything. Shit! Shit! Carl! I feel myself starting to hyperventilate and try again to slow my breathing. If I pass out right now, I'm going to be less help than I already am. The world is starting to take on a surreal tint, and I think I'm actually dreaming. I think about running to the kitchen, but I don't want to let her go, especially since I feel like she's on the edge of dying right now. I reach up again and start trying to worm my fingers underneath the rope, but it's useless. It's way too tight. My eyes start to water as I realize I'm not helping her at all right now, aside from maybe taking a little pressure off her neck. But it might be too late anyway. Help! I'm suddenly hyper-aware of the screaming pain in my ankle, and I feel it giving out. So are my arms, burning with the strain of trying to hold Jenna up. I press my face against her chest, feeling myself start to give up on everything. And something clicks in my mind. I'm not sure why or how, but I remember the knife, the one that we had carried through the halls. Was it still out there? It's really my only option now. With a great deal of regret, I let go of Jenna, leaving her to dangle and struggle again, though it's much weaker now. With a sense of urgency like I've never known, I tear out into the hallway, taking a hard right as I sprint down the hall. I'm not sure where I am. I can't remember the setup of this place. I take the first left, and just like that, I see the knife laying on the floor, in front of the door we disappeared through. Gasping in relief, I almost faceplant as I bend over to snatch it up, and turn on my heels and run back. When I take the turn again, I see Carl standing at the door, peering in at Jenna. Carl! I gasp at him, and he moves out of the way as I run into the room. Carl, help me with her! Jenna's not really moving now, and I slash at the rope uselessly for a moment before forcing myself to focus on start sawing at the rope. Carl seems to be hesitating at the door. Carl? Carl, help me! Carl walks in, looking at the Fennec before sort of hoisting her up a bit. I saw as fast as I can. The rope is thick, and it takes a good minute to cut it all the way through. Ooh, I'm at a couple millimeters from the other end when the rope snaps and all three of us come crashing to the ground. We lay there in a heaving heap. The only sound is our gasps as we all try to catch our breaths, Jenna being the loudest. After a while, I sit up and look over at her. She's already sitting up herself, one hand to her neck, rubbing at it. Are you okay? I reach out to her. I'm fine. Her voice sounds horrible, like she's completely lost it. She leans away a little from my hand, so I drop it. I thought you were gonna die, Jenna! My voice is all shuddering. I struggle to keep my emotions under control, to not have a panic attack. Whatever was controlling this whole scenario just tried to kill one of us. But then again, that's already happened with that shadow creature thing, and even with what's happened with to Raven. Jenna picks up the knife and brings it up to her neck, starting to saw away at the rope. I can help. She ignores me. I look over at Carl and see that he's sitting up, just staring at Jenna. Carl, are you okay? I ask it out of confusion. Why had he just stood there? I don't really want to ask right now, though, with Jenna still trying to get the rope off. Carl raises a hand in acknowledgement. We lay there a while longer, Jenna busy hacking at the rope, Carl choosing to stare up at the ceiling. That almost peaceful silence is shattered as a husky stumbles into the doorframe, grasping the wall as he practically trips in. Whoa, hey guys! He grins, waving a hand at us as he rights himself. He looks around at us, taking in the scene. What happened? Jenna got hanged. We had to cut her down. There's really no way to sugarcoat it. Oh, crap! He stares wide-eyed at Jenna. Well, guess it's surprising it wasn't me this time, huh? He lets out a high-pitched, nervous laugh. None of us even cracks a smile. You're okay, though? Fine. Raven looks around the room. Well, it looks like we're still here. Carl lets out a sigh. And that's how it's gonna stay if we just sit here. I frown. Hey, we just went through something really fucked up. We should be able to sit down for a sec. It's been a second, hasn't it? He waves his hand at Jenna. Look what just happened. It wants us dead. Carl. Trail off. What? Carl isn't himself. I already know that. If I had known telling him to let James help us would turn into this, I don't think I would have asked him to do it. I don't really want to think of it, but it seems like he would have let Jenna die if I hadn't been there. The way he just stood there. There's a soft snap, and I look over to see that Jenna's pulled the rope from her throat. How's your neck? Jenna rubs it. Fine. Her voice has an air of complete disinterest despite the situation. She seems distracted, too, her eyes flicking around at the ceiling, like she's expecting something to happen up there. I look up, too, but all I see is concrete that's spiderweb with cracks. The rope, I notice, is hanging from nothing. It sort of just grows out of the ceiling. Carl lets out another sigh next to me. We ready to move yet? I feel a flicker of annoyance. Can you cool it for just a minute? Carl is quiet for a moment, clearly sensing the change in my mood. I immediately regret it, but I don't have the energy to take it back. Yeah, sure, I guess we've been sitting around most of the time we've been here. Why not a few more minutes? I guess he's not really feeling bad about it, then. Actually, why don't we just stay here? Just keep pulling those grilled cheese sandwiches out of the cupboard, I stare at Carl, but before I can say anything, Jenna speaks up. We're going to get out. Her voice is dark, firm, and completely unlike the way Jenna has ever spoken before. We both look at her and she sits there, legs crossed, staring hard at us. Well, at me. Carl sits up. John! Now she does look at Carl, and it's out of instinct, her eyes darting to him before looking back at me. I recognize it as that almost unstoppable urge to look the way you hear your name being called. Yeah, we'd suspected, and Jenna had been acting weird, but to think that she was that consumed by him. Well, Carl is too, so it's not all that shocking. I haven't asked her directly about it yet, so I guess now's the time. Hey, Jenna, how are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? I'm feeling fine. It's just that you haven't seemed like yourself for a while now. What do you mean? I look over at Carl as he shifts himself around on the floor to look directly at Jenna. His face is hard. Dark. He doesn't say anything, though. I clear my throat. Me and Carl were talking earlier about a presence that he was feeling. Like he felt James talking to him. Sounds like he's going crazy. Carl snorts loudly, but doesn't say anything. Well, it's made him act kind of differently. I glance at Carl, but still he keeps quiet. Jenna keeps that stern look on her face, frowning at me. What are you trying to say? Well, do you know a guy named John Begay? Not really. You keep mentioning him, but no one's told me who he is, aside from the fact that he was hanged. I remember the picture I had taken of John back in Carl's crawl space. My hand fills my phone through my pocket as I almost reach in to pull it out before remembering that it's dead. He was in some of the pictures with James Hendricks, the founder of the town. Jenna stares at me blankly. James was Carl's ancestor, right? We think that John was your ancestor, too. He was a fox and has the same last name. So? So wasn't your family an echo since the beginning? Yes. So it seems like you're probably related to him, right? Jenna stares hard at me, then at Carl. Our family doesn't have records like yours, Carl. Carl gives Jenna a deadpan look. I butt in. See? Jenna doesn't talk like that. You wouldn't say something like that. Jenna doesn't say anything, keeping up her glare at Carl. What I'm saying is that John is in your head, kind of like James is in Carl's. I don't think so. I sigh loudly. Something's different with you. It's obvious. We can all see it. Raven suddenly cuts in. I mean, I don't know you that well, but if we're not going by how a normal person acts, you're not acting very normal. We're not in a normal situation like that, are we? We all go quiet then. Besides, this isn't about clearing James's name or whatever. Why are we talking about John? Jenna stares at Carl, eyes moving across his face like she's searching for something. Carl stares hard right back at her. Besides, if he's not fighting it, why should I? Jenna's expression remains emotionless. So, are you... possessed, I mean? Jenna goes quiet again. I rub my face hard with my hands. Apparently she's not going to confirm it, but I think it's pretty obvious. So what the hell am I supposed to do with two possessed friends on my hands? It's not me you have to worry about, Chase. Carl and I share a look. Jenna, what do you mean by that? A strange look crosses Jenna's face, breaking out of the stoic detachment she's been portraying for the last however long it's been. It's confused, but it's also like she wants to say something with her mouth open. Jenna? She seems to be frozen like that for a moment before she seems to finally give up, shaking her head. I don't know. She glares at Carl. Carl glares right back. This time Raven cuts in before Carl can say anything. Is something stopping John from saying something? I watch Jenna closely, and that's when she finally looks away. I don't know. Jenna, or Carl, are John and James upset with one another? Jenna shrugs, not looking at me. Carl lets out a sigh of frustration. What we need to be doing is figuring out how to get the hell out of here. Listen, I don't know much about these guys, but it sounds like James and John are trying to tell us something. Raven looks back and forth between Carl and Jenna. And trying to stop the other one from telling us something. I rub my face with my hands again, feeling frustrated, just wishing these two assholes could tell us what it is they want to say. So they're trying to tell us something about the past, and they both don't want us to know what the other knows. Maybe that's what we're supposed to figure out. So it's not as simple as just clearing James's name. John has something to say, too, and he sure as hell wants us to hear it. Carl, or James, do you have something to say? Carl says nothing. I close my eyes. Fine, so we're stuck in the middle of a possessed ghost fight, and neither of you are going to talk about it. I really don't have anything else to go off of. Maybe. I try to think back and think aloud, talking toward Raven since the other two don't seem interested in helping. So, when I was doing research, they both got convicted of sodomy. John was hanged and James left to start his ice cream business. Why wasn't James hanged too? His influence in the town, probably? Well, I can see how that might cause problems between the two of them. I look over at Carl, who's still looking at Jenna. Jenna's picking at the rope in her lap. There isn't much more to talk about at this point, unless one of the spirits decides to do something else that can help us along somehow. So, what are we supposed to do next exactly? Raven points at the back of the room. There's a door there! We all look in the direction he's pointing. Sure enough, there is a door there. It's a concrete door, practically cut out of the wall. It's featureless aside from a rusty metal handle. What? Was that there before? I think we would have seen it the first time I looked in. Jenna stands up, taking a few steps towards the door. Carl stands abruptly as well, following her. Jenna hears him and suddenly runs towards the door. I stand up too. Wait, guys, maybe we should... Jenna reaches forward to grab up the metal handle, and before any of us can say anything more, she yanks it open. A trail leads through the desert landscape, and cacti and boulders obscure my view on either side. The ground is rocky and dust kicks up with each step I take. As I continue up the path, I can see the 3 peaks of the Casa Demonio mountains in front of me. I'm heading towards the town of Echo, just over those mountains. As I get closer, I notice that the trail branches off, toward the side of the mountain. I follow the trail with my eyes into the hazy distance, almost disappearing into the heat waves. Still, I can make out a small dark hole, the mine. Some things should just be left alone. Dust swirls slightly at the mouth of the mine, almost sparkling in the bright noon light. Every single person here. Something seems to pulse out of the entrance, sending an almost invisible wave through the air. Alright guys, I'm gonna pause it right here. God, this is a nutty episode. This beautiful area, man. And the soundtrack is just perfect. It feels like it's really taking me there. Man. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been a new Let's Play episode of Echo, Carl's Path. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave a super thanks or a tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!